So a random Tuesday night game, Rangers, White Sox, unusual ending. A lot of fireworks, a lot of angry people. Outrage. Outrage. What was the outrage around? All right, so let me explain. So we'll take you to Chicago, South Side, the baddest part of town. Bottom of the 8th inning. And the White Sox second baseman, who's older than dirt, Elvis Andrus, he was ruled out on the field. He's trying to score. There was a base hit by the White Sox, and he was ruled out on the field. The Chicago White Sox manager, you've never heard of him, he came out of the dugout. He said, I want to challenge that. I think he's in. So they went to the replay in New York. The replay clearly showed that it was a close play, but the Rangers catcher, Jonah, don't call me Knox Heim, Jonah Heim of the Texas Rangers, his glove tagged Elvis Andrus' arm quick enough that there's no evidence that you could overturn the call because it was the right call on the field. Touche. Well, obviously you know what happened because we're talking about this. So they went to the replay, and the third base umpire, after a lengthy delay, the third base umpire announced, much to the shock of the Chicago fans, all 7 of them that were at the game, and the broadcasters, that the replay center in New York had decided that Andrus was safe. Not because he was actually safe. They ruled him safe because of catcher obstruction. The Buster Posey rule. Now, this, of course, led to pandemonium from the Rangers. They were losing their lunch. Jonah Heim couldn't believe it. He was a glass house of emotion. He was all upset. Rangers manager Bruce Bochy, enraged, and he was upset. He got ejected. And Heim was like, I don't understand. What am I supposed to do? I don't get it. So the decision actually was a game-deciding play because it gave the game to the White Sox. They won the game 7-6. And you say, oh, who cares? It's one of 162 games. But that run in the 8th inning, bottom of the 8th, that was the difference in the game. And so Bruce Bochy, the greatest manager in San Francisco Giants history, with apologies to Hum Baby, but Bruce Bochy then decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take an elbow to the replay decision, and he gave his take on the replay reversal, as Warner Wolf would say, let's go to the audio tape.
For that call to be made, I'm dumbfounded. It's absolutely one of the worst calls I've ever seen, and it was done by replay. I just don't get it. I don't care how many times they'll try to explain it. You can't do that in that situation. It's a shame. It's embarrassing, really.
Bochy sounds like a cowboy in my head would sound in the Old West, right? The Old West. Doesn't it sound like he's riding a horse and he's coming in there and he's got, he's got his gun on his belt there. He's got yeah. All right, here's more from Bruce Bochy. Here is Bochy. I knew him when he was the Padres manager and nobody thought he was all that good. But anyway, here's Bruce Bochy commenting on the Rangers catcher. He defends. Bochy's an old catcher. He defends the Rangers catcher. Listen.
There was never any contact with the catcher as a sweep tag. I don't get it. I really don't. I'm just, again, I'm shocked. Jonah did a great job there. The throw took him to the left a little bit, sweep tag. I'm lost on this one. That's a tough one to take.
So there's Bruce Bochy from the Old West. So let us discuss the question on this one. What do you make of Bruce Bochy being dumbfounded by the Ranger catcher's interference being reversed on the replay in Major League Baseball headquarters there in Manhattan? So I've got Sword, Thermometer, and Piggy. And we will combine all of these random things together, and we are going to make a Texas two-step is what we're going to make. So first of all, listen, not that it matters. I like Bruce Bochy. Bruce Bochy was a very down-to-earth guy. When he managed the Padres, I worked in San Diego, and Bochy would hang out at the pool hall, played pool with Bruce Bochy a couple times before he started winning World Series with the Giants. So I like Bochy. But at the same time, and I agree, it was a terrible call and all that, right? A terrible call. Clearly, this is ridiculous. It was malfeasance by whoever was in the replay center at Major League Baseball. Like, what are you doing? I mean, are you that pathetic of a human being that you think that was obstruction by the catcher? Blind Emmett, Blind Scott, callers of our show would see better than this moron, whoever it was, in Major League Baseball. So the replay center botched it, malfeasance. But at the same time, here's the reason I love this story so much. Okay? This is justice served by Bruce Bochy. For Bochy, this is justice served. And let me explain why. This is why it's justice served for Bruce Bochy. Because I am old enough to remember, long ago, I think it was almost a decade, actually it was more than a decade ago, that Bruce Bochy was managing the Gigantes. And when you look at his past, he's got a lot of chutzpah. A lot of chutzpah, because Bruce Bochy, it's all about swords. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. When he was managing the Giants, he's learning what goes around comes around, because back in 2011, the Giants were playing the Marlins. And the top player, young player for the Giants, was a guy named Buster Posey. He's now retired, long retired. But Buster Posey was the top player for the Giants, and he got absolutely trucked, taken out by a freight train from the Marlins, some no-name guy named Cousins. I forget what his first name was for the Marlins, but he took out the Giants catcher. And when I say he took out Buster Posey, he literally took the man out. Like his leg was shattered in pieces out. That kind of, like the bone was broken. And, yeah, it was bad. And so this became a huge talking point at that time in baseball. Now, it didn't happen right away, and some giant apologist in the media said, was it because of Buster Posey? Yes, it was, dummies. It was the Buster Posey rule, because that was the thing that pushed the groundswell of support to change the rules, because for forever, baseball had been played since the 1870s, and taking out the catcher at the play at home plate was part of the game. One of the most exciting plays in baseball. And the league decided, in large part, it started with Buster Posey, that this was not great because you're going to take out our star players. And so we have to put rules in. We have to put guardrails in. And that was the onus that led, the inspiration that led to what has become the Buster Posey rule. It took about 3 years for that to be finally implemented, but it started because of him. And Bruce Bochy was the Giants manager. And Bruce Bochy was the one that complained the loudest, and the Giants organization. So here we are all these years later, and again, what goes around comes around. Bruce Bochy's managing the Texas Rangers, and a rule that the team he was working for, advocated for, the Giants, has now become reality, and his team got hosed by the Buster Posey rule. How wonderful is that? Two most exciting plays in baseball were the play at home plate and trying to break up a double play at second base. That's also been taken out. That was the Chase Utley rule, because a Mets infielder was in the wrong position and got taken out by Chase Utley. But if he had been in the right position, he would not have been injured in the way he was. And so they changed that rule also. So Bruce Bochy all up in arms. All right, now, secondly, a couple other things in baseball here that I want to discuss. And we've also learned there's a survey that was done by The Athletic, and it's an off-the-record thing. You know, they don't put your name on it and all that stuff, but they asked a bunch of questions of players. One of the players that was talked about in this survey was Shohei Ohtani, and it's buried behind a paywall on The Athletic, but a group of anonymous players voted, and they picked Shohei Ohtani, which team he'll be on in 2024, and almost 60% of those that were surveyed predicted that Shohei Ohtani would be playing in 2024 for the DODGERS Dodgers. Yeah. Then the Angels were second. They were the second most popular choice, but they only got 11% of the players' vote, followed by the Padres, the Mets. They got 7.2%. The New York Yankees were on there. Some of the other teams that got mentioned, the Cubs, the Mariners, the Blue Jays, and the Red Sox. They also receive votes. So Major League Baseball players think that Shohei Ohtani will make a lateral move. He will leave the orange curtain, the OC, and head to the den of inequity, the pit of homelessness in Los Angeles to play for the Dodgers next season. So what kind of odds do we give Shohei Ohtani going to the Dodgers? So I'm going to be realistic here. The Maller Sportsbook odds on this at plus 175. That implies there's about a 35% chance. And the reason I'm only going 35%, that's a 350 batting average in baseball. The reason I'm not going higher than that is the thermometer. The thermometer is malfunctioning here, trying to get the temperature in the room. Nobody's got a good read on what Ohtani's going to do. Everyone's assuming he wants to stay on the West Coast because when he came over from Japan, he wanted to be on the West Coast. So they assume he's still like that. But he's been in the United States for a while. He's had a taste of American baseball for a long time. So does he still want to stay on the West Coast? I don't know. Does he love Southern California? People say he does. Well, if he loves Southern California and he doesn't want to stay with the Angels or the Dodgers, you could live where you live right now and just deal with traffic, and you could go play for the Dodgers. But ultimately, does he want to set a record? If Ohtani wants to break the bank, then he's going to have to be willing to get the Mets and the Red Sox involved in a bidding war, and the Giants and the Dodgers and all the big players for Ohtani. And the chatter around baseball is Ohtani does love the Boondocks in Anaheim, even though it's the L.A. Angels. There's no fanfare. There's no hullabaloo around the Angels, and they're pretty much isolated from the spotlight. And the Dodgers have a lot more buzz, but they're not. They don't get as much attention as the Yankees do. And the Dodgers keep raising the price of Dodger dogs. They could just give that money to Ohtani, like a $1 for every Dodger dog that's sold goes to Ohtani. I think that's illegal. But he has the stardust. He's the unicorn, the two-way player, Shohei Ohtani. He'll sell a lot of merchandise. So I give it a 35% chance that he ends up with the Dodgers because they're going to have to do something. They didn't do anything other than bring in Noah Syndergaard, who should be pitching beer league softball somewhere. That was their big offseason move. And you get Ohtani, you not only get a hitter, but you also get a pitcher. So it's a 2-for-1 special. And everyone likes it. It's not a deal, but it's a 2-for-1 special. All right, final thought, real quick. So Major League Baseball has implemented the clock this year. And the players were also asked, off the record, by The Athletic. No names were used. They said, yeah, what about this pitch clock? Well, they love the pitch clock, but the players have a gripe with Major League Baseball. They think that there's too much pressure. It's too hard in October to concentrate with the pitch clock. So they would like the pressure to be dialed back on the pitch clock. They said the league should either eliminate the pitch clock in playoff baseball, or other people said, hey, wait a minute, it should be lengthened. We have like 5 more seconds. Instead of, I think it's 20 seconds. Instead of that, you have 25 seconds. And so that is the conversation. So players want the pitch clock rules adjusted for the playoffs. Will Major League Baseball go for this? And I am shaking my head. No, they will not. I do not believe they will go for this. And why? Piggy. It's because of Piggy. They're pig-headed. That's why. And Rob Manfred and his flunkies at Major League Baseball, they love the timer. They're like me. I'm by the clock, for the clock, plausibly all about the clock, and so is Major League Baseball. They've gotten great publicity and all that stuff. They can't get enough of it. And they want these games to end as soon as possible. As soon as possible. But ultimately, the decision will be made by the television overlords. They're the ones that will decide. If TV says, I like the games the way they are, then the games will continue. But imagine if baseball got rid of the pitch clock and then we have a 6-hour game between the Red Sox and Rays in the opening round of the baseball playoffs, or the Yankees are playing the Rangers, and it goes on and on and on. Oh, that would be a nightmare. No bueno for baseball.